There we are.
We're here, guys! On a semi-regular schedule. Look at us.
Look at we're doing it, Shelby. We're making it happen.
So, if y'all didn't know on Twitter, we have a new host joining us next week. That's exciting. We're on Wednesday next week, specifically so Sydney can be there. Because Sydney is fun.
We're accommodating hosts.
We're accommodating.
Yeah.
There may be another special guest, but we'll let you know about that later.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. This time they're going to show up.
I'm telling you, I have a whole presentation that I'm going to build out and be ready to go because I need. Josh Pate did a pretty good job of talking about what happened with Florida, but he didn't incorporate any of the baseball stuff. So I'm going to get a nice little timeline for our viewers to follow along with like the past 2 weeks of being a Florida fan.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Well, the thing is that it really doesn't affect Texas A&M. I mean, really, Lane Kiffin seemingly poked a bear that he was not prepared for. And look at this. What did I say in the chat? We're going to strictly talk about baseball, and we are less than 90 seconds in, and I'm already talking about football.
And speaking of football, before we get any farther, A&M lost a great today. Coach Terry Price passed away at the age of 55 because fuck cancer.
R.I.P.
He has been our defensive line coach since 2012. And Kevin Sumlin called him and said, "Hey, I want you to come home." Because he played at A&M, and he said, "I want you to come home and coach with me." And he told his wife that he was going to go. Kevin Sumlin told him to take the night and think about it and let him know. He then hung up, told his wife that he was going to go think about it, and while he went to go think about it, she should start packing. So, he's an Aggie through and through, and we're going to
Through and through. Well, that's R.I.P. Terry Price.
It's something we had to share. All right. Baseball. I cannot believe the SEC final.
Yeah, I know, right? It's shocking that honestly the three best teams in the country were the three that ended up playing at the end, right? Like we talked about this on our preview show. To me, it was always Wake, Florida, LSU. Like the fact that LSU was the 5 seed kind of was a joke. I mean, LSU was a stud. They're beast. But did you get a chance to watch the game last night?
Not.
Mm-hmm.
I was tired.
It was 0-0. So as a Florida fan, let me paint the picture for you. The ultimate win-win for us is LSU and Wake go into extra innings, burn as many of their pitchers as they can, and LSU ultimately wins because besides Paul Skeens, LSU's pitching staff isn't nearly as good as Wake Forest.
True.
So Paul Skeens pitched last night. Both I forget what his first name is, but Louder and Skeens. Basically, the Friday
JD something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But basically, the Friday starters for both teams pitched last night. So as a Florida fan, you're like, okay, well now that means that we're going to be basically having our ace against their number 2 or number 3. And so we got to see Paul Skeens throw 120 pitches. Exactly what we wanted to see. Yeah, it goes to extra innings. Exactly what we wanted to see. But the ending of the game. So I'm watching it. Right, it's 11th, I think 10th or 11th inning, and Tommy White's coming up for LSU, and they have this whole big. The pitcher Mancini for Wake Forest and the catcher was playing at Tulane, and I guess they had a coaching change or something. So he reaches out to the pitcher, and they're high school best friends, right?
Oh,
And
God.
the commentators were telling us all this story about how they were best friends and they pitched together in the state championship. And he calls him up and says, "Hey, do you guys need a catcher?" So he's like, "Yeah, we need a catcher transfer to Wake." So now they're in this big pivotal moment, and they've known each other since high school. And I'll be damned if that pitcher didn't hang a slider about belt high to a guy that leads the country in RBIs. And he just ping, and just the moment it left his very first pitch. So you have ESPN telling us about how this guy's the best closer in the country. Him and his best friend are in this big moment. And then he threw one pitch and it was a belt high slider across the middle of the plate for a 2-run home run, and LSU walked it off.
There you go.
And it was everybody like Wake's pitcher was doing fine too. Like it seemed like the Wake coach kind of got a little too smart for himself because he's like, oh, we're gonna go to our stud in the bullpen, and immediately walked him off.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a hell of an ending.
I saw somebody that had tweeted that they said like Tommy White's gonna walk it off here. And then he's like, he posted the video of himself reacting to the home run.
I mean, it honestly, I feel like that's the difference, and I apologize to any Wake Forest viewers that are out there, but that's the difference between an LSU and a Wake Forest in that moment, right? Like, I feel like everybody watching that game was like LSU was going to walk this off. Wake is just, even though Wake had the super team, right? Like they were, argue number one in the country for most of the year, number one seed, undefeated. LSU had to beat them twice, and after they lost that first game, it was kind of like, okay.
You
Yeah,
knew
it's like
it.
you guys had
going? Oh yeah.
Skeens was pitching in the second game, and so it's like you knew you had to win that game, and you lost it, and then you go into a 0-0 game into 10 or 11 innings, just for LSU to walk you off at the very end. Yeah,
That you lose to a guy named Tommy Tanks. Right?
exactly.
What did you expect to happen here? It's okay.
It was only a
A&M
matter of time.
Like 5-2, 5-3 against the teams in the final. So there's that.
That is the most Texas A&M.
I had to say it so you could make fun of me. I wanted to do it just for you.
So I've watched one game of Gators baseball in the past 2 or 3 months because the last games that I watched was the Texas A&M series, and I was like, like we were on like a 12-game winning streak or something at that point, and then we lose that series, and I'm like, well, I'm obviously bad luck, so I follow along with it every game, right? Like I'm reading the live threads, I'm following on ESPN, but I just can't make myself watch it. So then in the elimination game against Texas Tech in the regionals, I was like, okay, well, screw it. I mean, if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. Like we'd already lost a game without me watching, right? So the vibe is broken, right? Like if you lose against a team you should beat when I'm not watching, then I'm allowed to watch.
Yeah.
Fan logic. It all makes sense if nothing makes any sense. Yeah.
Logical. It's fine.
Yeah, logic.
Fine.
So we win that game, and so then I haven't watched any of the stuff in Omaha. I'm not going to watch the finals. Like I feel like in every of all the sports, baseball is the one where you don't mix things up, right? Like when something you wear the same socks, you do the same routine, like everybody does the same stuff. So I can't watch the games, but I'm yeah, I maybe if we, knock on wood, if we lose game 1, then I'll have to watch the next 2 games.
Oh, okay. Is that how that works?
Yeah, logic. That's how,
Okay. If that's what makes you feel better.
That's, this is how it works, when you're
What
standing in one spot.
If you lose game 1, though?
I mean, I think we're going to be favored pretty heavily.
Without Paul Skeens, yeah. Because who do they have that's not Paul Skeens?
And we're going to have Brendan Sproat throwing. We're going to have Brendan Sproat and Hurston Waldrop back to back. Like, are either one of those guys as good as Skeens? No. But are they better than the next guy on LSU's roster? For sure. So, if it was Skeens versus Sproat, we're having a different conversation. I think that we're going to be able to handle them game 1. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 3 games just because LSU has a really big fan presence in Omaha. Like, they always do. I think they've drank like 15,000 Jello shots or something
Oh no, let's check. You're way off.
That was a few games ago, so yeah, it's probably doubled or tripled by then or by now.
Jello shot challenge. It's on Twitter. They are holding off on the board update because there hasn't been much movement. Now, mind you, they had Todd Graves and Raising Cane's make a big contribution to this. Somehow. 29,023.
That's a lot of Jello shots.
And they're not small Jello shots. If you haven't seen the picture of them, they're probably like yay big.
I mean, they're
That's why
$5 a piece,
so
so I'd
yeah.
hope so.
I was like,
Back
"This is expensive freaking Jello shot."
back in my day, Jello shots were like $2, and like you could get like a whole tray of Jello shots. Like you could get like 24 Jello shots for like $20. They just give you a discount on them.
Because they're like this big.
Yeah, but you know, and they come in the little souffle cups that like
It makes you feel special.
yeah,
Feel fancy.
yeah.
See, I'm not a big Jello person, so Jello shots aren't my forte. But
Yeah, I don't. It's too sweet. I have a very funny story about Jello shots. I told one of my friends in college tried to make Jello shots like quickly, because she didn't plan ahead of time, and so she, in the middle of a party, went and bought Jello and tried to make Jello shots in the freezer. And if you've ever seen what happens when you don't let Jello cool properly, it just turns into ice cubes, basically.
yep.
So yeah, so we just had basically pink and green ice cubes of Jello floating on top of vodka. Real delicious experience, yeah.
My mom, when I graduated from high school, I don't remember if it was my mom that got it or if someone else got it for me, but I had an A&M themed Jello mold, and they're like about yay big and yay long, so they're perfect for Jello shots. And mom goes, A&M Jello shots, you're welcome. I was like, what? What? I'm 18 years old. What?
She's preparing you. She's preparing you for the people that, you make friends in college, and not everybody else is 18. Some people are 21.
See, I was in a sorority and still didn't drink before I was 21 outside of what I drank with my parents.
See, smart.
I was a good kid. Was.
Yeah. Kindergarten teacher Shelby going crazy.
Oh yeah, I go hard, man. I go hard and then I go and sing the ABCs.
Yeah, it's like for me 9 p.m. and it's like, okay, what else do I have to do today? 9 p.m. I gotta wake up in the morning, got a baby, got a kid, like
Well,
I don't know.
but you have 2 kids. Just because the baby is a baby does not mean she's not a kid.
Yeah, that's a better way of phrasing it. You're right. I call,
Baby and a kid.
yeah, what I refer to the baby as baby and the kid as kid. And so like I'm like, "Oh, what's up, kid? Oh, look at my little baby." So when I'm speaking of them in my mind, baby and kid
Makes sense.
indicate 2 separate things, but yeah, speaking about it does seem like I'm just referring to one.
I have a baby and a kid. They're very different.
Okay, so let's talk about some baseball. I think that maybe this is my SEC bias showing here. I think that we're getting to see the 2 best teams in the country play.
I thought you were going to say this is my SEC bias, but an SEC team is going to win.
Yeah, no, I mean, while I think I can confidently make that statement, I think that these are the 2 best teams in the country. I think that they have 3 of the 5 best players in the country in Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, and Wyatt Langford. I think all 3 of those guys are going to be top 5 picks. I think that Hurston Waldrop and Brendan Sproat, I imagine they're both going to be Waldrop probably top 20 pick. I think Sproat's probably maybe a late first or second round guy. And then of course you have Jack Caglianone, who is probably the first overall pick next year. Oh yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but way back Jack's got another year. So yeah, lucky us, all right.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. It's going to be miserable having to go back to back 50-win seasons with our Shohei Ohtani mutant clone.
Who is that? What is the team that had like 30 transfers? I'm trying to
wasn't it Wake? I thought Wake had a bunch of transfers.
No, it wasn't Wake because they're this year, like that just transfer.
Oh. And baseball or football?
Baseball.
I have no idea.
I have to look this up now because somebody tweeted for A&M because they're like, this team has like 30 transfers, and one of my guy friends quote tweeted and said, "Can any of you pitch?" Asking for a friend. I was like legitimately asking for a friend. The friend is Coach Loss. Can any of you pitch? I think it's
So
Wichita State.
Texas A&M hired TCU's coach, right? Like, wasn't
Yeah.
he at TCU? He must be regretting that.
Eh,
Y'all made it pretty far last year, didn't y'all?
we were top Final Four in Omaha.
Yeah, I know y'all knocked us out of our regional, and after that, I stopped watching because if Florida doesn't get to win it, I don't care who wins.
With Wichita, yeah, it's Wichita State that has lost like 30 transfers.
How many people can you have? Because in the MLB, you can only have 25 people on your
Yeah,
roster.
over half of the Wichita State roster has entered the transfer portal.
Wow. That's not a good
Can any
look.
of you pitch, please?
That's like Colorado level.
But they don't have a coach telling them to leave, so it's different.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Maybe they just know the sky's falling.
They're like, "Nah, I'm good, thanks." See,
So let me.
the only good thing about the best thing about our run last year is I will never forget bringing Jacob Polish in on the 3-2 count in the Super Regional to get the final out, and they're like, "Why would you change pitchers in a 3-2 count? Like, what are you doing?"
That's
And he came in through one ball. It was a strike. That was it. And we won the
can't
game.
beat
And I
that.
was like, why did I question you, coach? Why? He knew.
That's what happened to us with Kate Fisher. I'm not sure if you've seen the memes about Kevin O'Sullivan being able to count to 6.
Oh,
Um, I don't know if you knew this. I didn't know this until it happened to us, but what game was it? The Virginia game, maybe the Oral Roberts game. But we made too many mound visits,
yes.
and on the 7th one, they made us change pitchers. And so we had to take out our All American closer and put in a freshman. And everybody was just like, well, this is how we lose this game. Like, this is a totally shitty situation that we just got put in. And then he pitched himself out of the jam, got us out of the inning, and gave up no runs. And he's pitched like 2 more innings. And it's like, dude, as a freshman, like imagine you're just a freshman vibing on.
Uh-huh.
You're in the bullpen. You're not even warmed up yet. Like you don't even like they're not even planning on bringing you in, and then you have to come off the bench. You warm up on the mound, and then strike like get out of a 2 runner on inning, and then pitch 2 more as a freshman. Dude's gonna be a stud. Yeah, this team, like that's what's crazy. Like guys like Josh Rivera, Wyatt Langford, like BT Riopole. Like we definitely have some leaders on our team that are gonna be gone after this year, but we also have like really good players coming back next year too. So it's like we already signed got a freshman All American transfer from Bama. Um, it's boggling my mind that Florida's getting transfers right now because it's like they're actively playing for a championship, but they also have to go and recruit the portal. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like you would think that the NCAA wouldn't have a critical time period overlapping the most important time period. Excuse me.
Like
Sorry.
Omaha.
Yeah, like you would think you would let your coaches and players focus exclusively on winning the national championship. But
That would be too easy.
yeah, they start the transfer portal window
Yeah,
right
we've
around the
gotten
time
a
of super
couple.
regionals.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple. We got one from Jacksonville State, and he's a pitcher with a pretty good ERA. He was 7-3 this year. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
welcome to the squad because Nathan Detmer's probably leaving. Let's see who else is leaving. Much to my friend John, my friend John, who is an Ole Miss fan, much to his disdain, Jack Moss is probably not leaving. He said, "Why is Jack Moss still playing?" I said, "Because he's only a sophomore." He's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, about that."
Oops.
Or no, he's a junior now. He was a sophomore last year, so he could leave, but I don't see him leaving. I'd have to look at like the roster to see who all is leaving, but like we're not losing much.
Baseball, it's funny people complain about the portal and players hopping. I feel like baseball has always had the most transfers. Like kind of like basketball, to where you have a lot of teams in Division One. Unlike football, like you have probably 3 times as many teams in D1 baseball and basketball as you do in football. And so you've always had a shit ton of transfers on teams. And a lot of times players just don't realize it because, number one, the lifeline or the timeline for baseball players is a lot different than football and basketball players, right? Like basketball, by the time you're 21, you kind of have to be ready to go to the NBA, right? Like the NBA, the top guys they draft are 18, 19 years old. Very rarely do you have anybody that's even more than a sophomore in college going in the top 5 at the NBA.
Yeah.
Football, you have that 3-year waiting period. So it's 20, 21, 22 in that time period, but you have basically 3 or 4 year careers, right? So, like, by the time guys are 25 or 26, they're either solidly in the NFL or they've already washed out of the NFL.
Or they're
Baseball,
just not going to make it.
yeah, exactly. But baseball, by the time you're 26, you might just be getting into AAA. You might not make your major league appearance until 28 and still have a 10-year career.
Yeah.
So like with baseball, you've always had these guys that are seniors, 5th-year seniors, grad transfers, whatever. And now with the portal, it's just taken that. Like I feel like it's impossible for me to even follow baseball rosters in college because it's like there's so many players to follow along with, but then also they switch teams, and it just
Yeah.
happens every year. Even before the portal, it just happened all the time.
We lost when Schloss came. We lost someone a name you may know. Hunter Coleman's little brother, Ty Coleman, played transferred to Texas Tech. Because I don't know, I can't say this for sure, but I had a feeling that he was sick of being baby Coleman. Because Hunter was a sophomore when Ty came in.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very much, we called him baby Coleman. Do.
I'm sure you love that.
Probably didn't like that. Sad days. Brett Minnick is graduating, and he literally came back because he's like, we didn't finish what we started last year, all this. I had such a great time with Schloss, and then got injured like 4 times this year. And I'm like, well, we tried. Because he broke a thumb, he broke his thumb sliding into first base opening day. First at bat, slid into first base and broke his thumb. So he was out, and then separated his shoulder. So when he came back for the Texas game, separated his shoulder 2 weeks later.
Oof.
And was only able to DH when he came back because he couldn't throw anything. He couldn't literally lift the arm past here. But he was DHing anyway.
Hey, you don't have to pick your head up. Or you don't have to pick your arm up.
Fine. It's fine. And Austin Boast is leaving us, the 12th man, and that's sad. Boast has always wanted to be an Aggie, and he finally got to do it, and that makes me sad that he is leaving.
I'm trying to find.
And Jordan Thompson is leaving. That's right. He's a senior. Jordan Thompson feels like he's been on this roster for like years and years and years and years.
So we have a similar situation to the Colemans. We have the Fabians, to where Judd Fabian was a center fielder for us, and he got drafted last year. But his little brother came in and was a freshman last year, so maybe he's a freshman this year. He's either a freshman or a sophomore. But in my mind, it feels like they are just one player that has been on Florida's roster for like 7. Yeah, like they've been on there for like 7 or 8 years now. Like we just had a Fabian floating around.
Yeah, the girl that I had on for our softball podcast, Kelby, she's married to Hunter Coleman.
So, oh wow, that's cool.
We tried to get him on to talk baseball, but he was like, "I'm done." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." Just asking, because she will talk about softball till her like mouth falls off. She's obsessed.
So we have one of the guys that's leaving us. His name is Carson Feinvold, and he barely, I think he pitched 1 inning this year, but he will forever be etched in Florida baseball lore because last year against Oklahoma in the regionals, he was way down the list and he ended up having to start a game for us against Oklahoma. And he has this really wonky delivery, but he throws about an 82-mile-an-hour fastball. So, in high level baseball, 82 doesn't exactly do a lot for you.
It does.
And so he pitched like 7 innings of like 1 run baseball, hadn't pitched at all the whole year, up there just throwing sloppy, terrible fastballs and changeups, and nobody could hit him. He looked like fucking Tom Glavine up there with the way he was like pitching. And then he just has not pitched again. Like it's literally like he just had one absolute gem of an appearance, didn't pitch at all this year, and is now in the portal. Like for the rest of his life, he's going to have that one game to where he can say, "Look, hey, I may not have been very good any other time, but this time I was
I
the
did
best on the
this.
field."
Look at this. I did it. Look at me. Look at me, coach.
Put me in, coach.
Oh my god, that song is that they play that song all the time at A&M baseball games.
Oh yeah, it's a classic.
Makes me miss Olsen. Let's see. When was the last time you went to a Florida baseball game?
I don't know if I've ever been to a Florida baseball game.
That's wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Probably, yeah.
One of my favorite A&M baseball memories, we played UTRGV and we got up to ball like 13. And this poor kid is a freshman. Throwing like just shit. And he keeps looking into the bullpen. Like he keeps turning around and like and they're all like, no, you're good, friend.
Yep.
You're good.
It's all you, buddy. It's all you.
And I was like, oh my god, this poor kid. Oh my god. I felt so bad for him. I was like, he just wants some help. Can we donate a pitcher?
Nope.
Maybe an outfielder that wants to pitch?
You're all on your own.
You're on your own, kid. As Taylor Swift would say.
Man, Taylor Swift. Her songs get stuck in my head so bad.
I've ever been to. Not gonna lie. Not that I've been to a lot of concerts in my life, but still. Like she sang for 3.5 hours.
It's pretty impressive.
And I was like, how are you doing this?
I sing for 3.5 minutes, and I'm like,
whew. Right, I sang the war hymn, man, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Oh, on the war hymn. Christ.
I'm so excited to go to the football game this year, though. Go to the Arkansas game on my birthday.
Fun.
Good times.
You and Dargan going?
Yeah, me and Dargan and Dargan's wife.
Aw.
I wonder if he bought the tickets though, and I paid him for it. So I'm curious if they're in the Arkansas section. And so I'm gonna
how to woo pig suey.
Yeah, I'm gonna basically, really depending on the outcome of the game, I'm either going to have to diffuse the obnoxious Florida fans from talking shit to Dargan because he's my friend, or protect Dargan from pissed off Gator fans if Arkansas wins. So that's gonna be a fun balancing act.
One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. So all right. I told my wife it'd be 30 minutes, and we're at 29 minutes.
28:56.
Let's get these predictions in. What you thinking?
I've got Florida in 3.
Florida in 3. I am going to go Florida in 2, just to be different than you, even though I said I think they go to 3 earlier. I'm being confident. Florida fans, we're not known for our humility. We are known for our hubris. We are known for our arrogance.
Walk-off field goals. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Walk-off field goals, and we're also known for LSU really being a pain in our ass in like every sport.
So is someone going to cleat eat?
I don't think so. I think that we're gonna have.
It's not complete.
I think Wyatt Langford is going to be the MVP. I think that he is going to show that he's the best hitter and best player in baseball. Even though Dylan Cruz is probably the
I
only
have to hear
one.
one more thing about Dylan Cruz.
Aren't you ready for him to leave, man? I'm so ready for him to
It's
leave.
like, what's his bucket that was on Kramer Robertson? I couldn't.
Like, get out of here, man.
Hear
Nobody
one more
cares.
thing about Kramer and his hair. I swear to God.
Like, give me Jack Caglione. Like, 31 home runs. Get out of here, Dylan Cruz. You ain't shit. The Golden Spikes Award finals were Jack, Dylan Cruz, and Paul Skeens. Were the 3 finalists. So basically, the 3 best players in the country are on the 2 teams in the finals.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. It does.
But
But yeah, Florida, give me a chomp. Shelby, give me a chomp.
can't do it.
Right over left.
See, every time you say right over left, that's what we do in the war hymn because it's it's left over right because no Aggie left behind. So
it's right over left until your elbows burn.
My Aggie ring says I can't do that.
That's understandable. Tim Tebow did left over right, and for me as a lefty, left over right actually feels more natural.
Because Tim Tebow said so.
Yeah. So, that's what people are like, oh, it's got to be left or right over left. That's the right way of doing it. And it's like, yeah, you're not wrong because that's in like the anthem that or the fight song that we use, and that's where it comes from. But also Tim Tebow did it left over right, and Tim Tebow is God. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
On that note.
Yep. On that note.
Y'all. We'll see y'all next Wednesday to talk 2024 schedule. Hopefully, we'll have some special guests.
Got a bunch of stuff to talk about Florida. It'll be it's gonna be like a 30-minute expose, guys. Like, you're gonna want to tune in for this. It's gonna be. I'm gonna have slideshows, presentations. They're gonna be visual graphics.
I'm sorry. Are there non-visual graphics?
Yeah. Just trust me, bro. Like, just trust me. There are non-visual graphics.
Okay. All right. Thanks and gig 'em, y'all.
Go Gators.